Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to a bit more of a chill short video. I really want to get into making some longer form content because that's personally what I watch. Like, my favorite YouTubers are just ones that make hour-long videos that about random nonsense I can put on in the background and just like their personalities, and I like to hear them yap about random topics. But for now, I do not have enough footage to make a long video, so this one's going to be a bit shorter. I had this canvas lying around in my studio because last year I was working on another painting where it was really inspired by Catholic art. I was making like my own like Madonna, but I was pink and it was a self-portrait. It was a lot of fun, and I really wanted like a gilded framed border for that because I'm really inspired by like old Renaissance Catholic art where they like really go the whole nine yards. Like, you think my art is crazy and tacky and sparkly, you need to look at some art history because painters have been sparkly since day one, and I was wanting to make something in that vein, but I wanted to test out the technique because I'm like, how would I go about, like, I'm like, I can't. I was like, do I resin cast and like put the resin on? But like, I don't know how that would work, and I'm not really a sculptor, so I didn't really want to sculpt it, but I am a henna artist, and henna is basically like when you pipe different designs and shapes, almost like you're piping frosting. And I've frosted cakes before, and I'm like, that's kind of the look I want to go for, is like gilded frosted cake. So my solution for this was to do puffy paint in designs and gild on top of that. And that's what I did here, where I did the puffy paint and then I painted it pink and then I gilded on top of that. And then in the beginning, you saw like the pink underneath. And it is all freehand, so it's not like super precise, but I don't know. I think it kind of adds to it because like the subject matter is kind of folky. I don't know. I think it adds a little bit of charm because you can tell it's handmade. But yeah, it was fun working on top of this. I've had this thing sitting around my studio for like so long, and it's like a pretty canvas. I'm like, oh, I need to really paint something special on top of this, and it needs to like mean something. Because like whenever I'm doing something like this where it is very sort of gimmicky, I don't want it to be just a pure gimmick. I want it to have meaning and purpose. And I was working on another painting where I was using gold because I use gold a lot, and gold in a lot of artists' work I feel like can be a bit gimmicky, which is not fun, which is completely fine. It's just something that I just don't prefer it. I just prefer everything in my work to be intentional, which is not to say that like arbitrary work is bad. It's just how I like to work. Anyway, that's besides the point. I was researching Colorado's history, and the reason I used gold in that piece, it was a creative project as a part of my final for my Native American film and media class, and so you got to make a creative project, and I chose to make it about Colorado's history and how that interacts with like the things you talked about in the class and like Native American history. And I had to do some research on the gold rush because of that. And I don't know, the gold rush is always really interesting. If you grow up in Colorado, like it's definitely a part of like culture when you go and visit places in the mountains and you go on like, ski towns and things. Like everything's named after miners. You grow up visiting like mining towns and like hearing all the horror stories about people like died of black lung and like, oh my god, mining is so dangerous and terrifying, and like you could not pay me enough money to go down in those caves. Like, ugh, or people who cave. I will never understand people who are like, let me use my free will to go into a small cave for fun and then get trapped there. That sounds like my absolute worst nightmare. However, I would go to the ocean, so that's other people's worst nightmare. And anyway, so I was thinking about the gold rush when I was doing this, and I was thinking about like, oh, I'll name it after that because that's what drew Colorado there in the first place. That's why I live in the places that I do, is because, I'm always thinking of responding to history and being like, what happened before me, and that how does that apply to what I am today? Like always, there's always this butterfly effect that I'm interested in, especially in like painting, but also how that relates to history and like the visual narrative of it all. So I'm responding to that in multiple ways in a lot of my work. And to go even further back, I was also responding to that when I was thinking about like old Catholic art. So everything is always, I'm always thinking. And I think it's more fun that way. Even if like other people don't really see all the things I'm thinking about outright when I make a piece, it's just kind of fun to know that like this is what I am thinking. And I don't know. I feel like if I'm learning enough art history, I might as well think about it when I paint. I'm always curious about pink. Pink to me is every single time I make a new piece, my thought is always, how the hell am I going to use pink in this? And when is it going to be too much? And when is it going to be too little? and that's always a struggle for me, is not going overboard because I love going overboard. And I don't know, with this piece I think I struck a a balance that I wasn't initially going for. I was initially going for something a bit more grounded, but from what it ended up being more kind of surreal looking and more like dreamlike and sort of light and airy. This technique you're seeing here is actually a face painting technique where I really like to do face painting. That's my day job, and I have like a rainbow cake, and it makes making rainbows so much easier. So basically what I did is I just dipped all of my sides of my brushes into a rainbow pigment, and then I use that to spread it on the across the canvas. I'm always trying to make my work look like it's opalescent and sort of made, because opals are my favorite stone. I think they're so beautiful, and I grew up in the 2010s where everything was iridescent and holographic, and I love that look, and I will never not love that look. I think it's so beautiful, and like all my favorite things in nature are iridescent. I think it's such a beautiful quality of light, and I just love light, and I love the way it reflects. So I was like sort of debating whether or not to add these trees, but I'm kind of glad I did, because to me the painting felt too much like too like I'm floating in the air and not enough like I'm standing on ground. And I kind of wanted it to look like, you spent a long time on a hike, and this is what you reached at the top, because I have been going through it this month. I'm fine. I'm just so busy. Like finals really took it out of me, and I just had so many personal projects. They were all great. I was just super busy, and I didn't really have a social life, and my social life became hanging out with my friends while I did work, which was great, but I wanted to have a bit more leisure time in, at least for the Christmas month, and I want a bit of a break. And what better place to have a break than Colorado, because I'm feeling a bit homesick. So this painting is to me sort of like, what is my heaven on earth but being in the mountains, being in the nature, being surrounded by the beauty that I've known all my life. That's my heaven on earth. So that's sort of how I connected the gold back to the meaning of the painting, because in old Italian art, gold did signify heaven. Like they had these like golden, halos nowadays are like rings around the head, but like back in the day, there used to be these like circles that they would paint behind them, like geometric circles, and then a lot of times they'd be like, you know, embellished inside there. Like people do some really crazy, intricate stuff. So I love the look of that, and I'm really excited to make more art in this vein and sort of talking about this sort of style when I have more personal experience with it when I go to Florence. That is my absolute number one thing in my life right now, is that I'm going to be moving abroad for the first time in my life, and where better place to move abroad than Florence. So I'm really excited, and I think I'm going to make some really cool work, because I make a lot of work about my personal experience and art history, and the part of art history that I'm really interested in is Italian, and it is Renaissance, and it is I'm really interested in Baroque stuff too. I love Baroque stuff, but what better way to like explore my own interest in a topic than to go to like the birthplace of where it started, so I'm really excited, and I love the food. I love Italian food. So here I am revealing my piece. Hope you guys have a good day. I'll see you later. Bye.